Welcome, everybody. We've been chatting away here for half an hour about what our thumbnail, you've obviously just clicked on it. We're not live. We're trying to decide what to write in a world of shitty news. Any ideas what this thumbnail should say, guys?
We're all going to fucking
Bitcoin
die.
to $1 million.
What? Sorry, Joel?
Ripple to $589.
Okay, so we've got three active traders with us here today. Obviously not financial advice. Let's get that out of the way. So I don't know. Should we have a look at what some of the other well-known people in the space are saying to get some ideas about our thumbnail? So the all-time favorite, Ivan on tech, Bitcoin, 1,000 coming.
It's a lot of red.
Bitcoin can crash to 1,000. Thank you, Ivan, with that very dodgy-looking chin rub.
I've seen a few boys talk about that. A few boys talking about those things.
Yes, but I mean, if we just go quickly through his other highlights this week, we've had careful, huge bear last 24 hours. Bitcoin act now. Bitcoin still bullish 5 days ago, and massive bull ahead from Ivan 1 week ago. So we've gone from massive bull ahead to Bitcoin 1,000 coming. Nice one, Ivan.
Not financial advice.
Chico.
Well, these are just like clickbait titles, get people to actually click because
I understand that, Joel, and people have obviously clicked on ours, so we're doing our due diligence and homework.
Of course.
So we've got the final shakeout before the moon. From Crypto Chico, that's 4 hours ago, and obviously his some very interesting videos from him recently about the meth trade being behind a massive amount of Bitcoin action. So clearly, meth consumption has fallen off a cliff in the last 48 hours. Can we encourage all you meth smokers out there to get back into it so we can have the price of Bitcoin go back up? That is not.
You gotta go hit that pipe, bitch.
But Joel, maybe if you could kick it off for us, and we'll have a look at the charts.
Sure, absolutely. Sorry for this gonna not be as big as normal, but I'm gonna show first a relationship of charts.
Okay.
To give people some idea. Can you guys see my screen right here?
We can.
Yeah. Yes.
Yep.
Sexy.
Okay, beautiful. All right, so over here we have the Dow Jones Industrial Average Index, we have Bitcoin, we have gold, and we have the S&P 500. So my charts kind of got screwed up when I did the 4 chart thing. So if you're wondering why there's different indicators, that's just because it got screwed up. So let's just jump right in. So as we can see, there's a very big correlation to...
Are you moving your cursor around like a madman and confusing my eyes? Or
Sorry, the cursor will be on all 4 screens.
Okay, correct.
Let's look at Bitcoin or Dow Jones Industrial. So we see that dropped, this is on a daily chart, right? So we're talking in the last couple days, it's dropped, 8%. That's quite a lot of money that left the market. 12 days, sorry. And in the same time frame, we saw Bitcoin do the exact same thing, about, a nasty correction as well, but a normal correction. Honestly, if you're freaking out and you're new to crypto, this is just part of the game, honestly, man. Just grow some fucking balls. This is an industry where you have to have them or you'll get wrecked. So just got to say it straight up because most people don't. We also see the S&P 500 index also dropped around the same. We see these TD9s, okay? And I use these a lot for Bitcoin as well. I'll show you guys that in a second. But TD sequential, when you hit a 9, we generally see corrective movement. It's exhaustion, okay? And we saw that happen over here and it exhausted back down to the Kijinsen. We saw this happen up here as well, where it you could see the candles. They're getting kind of weaker. There's less volume, even though I don't have volume on this chart, unfortunately. So Bitcoin is what I've been watching versus gold. So I made where the heck did it go? I think it was October. I said gold looks like she could go. It had a little dip after that, and then all of a sudden it's been pretty parabolic, which is kind of interesting because if you look at the correlation on the charts, you can see all of them when I line them up. This is where gold started to dip with Bitcoin, which was interesting. And then we saw it just started to take off. Other markets were taking off too. And then it just continued. And then we have other factors that finally actually play a role in crypto. Usually fundamentals don't matter as much, but we have the coronavirus and we have people kind of in panic mode. When people are already in panic mode, they either don't trade or they trade emotionally. So if you're feeling panicked or scared, don't trade right now. There's a good time. Honestly, a lot of traders don't tell you this, but there's a great time not to trade. There's times to trade. There's times not to trade. There's time to long and short. And it's something probably one of the most, the best pieces of non-financial advice as a trader to give someone is, know when not to go in. Don't always have to be in a trade. It's something that you read a very, like any trading book from mankind pretty much I've ever read always says this, and it's something that most people don't do when they get into crypto. They don't read, they don't learn. So I encourage you guys to do that.
Joel, that's a really fantastic observation. I know from, I'm not a current trader at the moment, but I know back in 2017 there was some very poor decisions I myself made on emotion more than anything else. And at the moment, emotions are running high on a number of fronts. I mean, we've just had somewhat of a comical look at the thumbnails. God knows what you've just clicked on to be watching this video, but the point being, there's clickbait. We're seeing it on the news at the moment with the coronavirus. It's Joel. I think that was a very measured comment about there is a time not to trade. Be careful.
Markets will be there tomorrow, right, guys? They're not going to disappear.
No, I think that this type of motion leads into markets being emotional more so, more panic already, and then you have the markets drop, and then you have even more panic. And this is this trading psychology, right? Like when everyone's selling off, the big guys start to accumulate. When everyone gets scared and when everyone gets excited and euphoric, they start to sell. Well, it's green. Well, it's still green.
Would it be fair to say those bigger or more successful traders you're talking about have maybe mastered the art of controlling their emotions?
Well, it's not even that. It's just they have so much money that they can, if we're talking about Bitcoin, they have so much money they can actually move the market with a few $1 million. And so I know people that are 25, 30 years old, traders, and they're moving the whole market because they made millions of dollars trading crypto. And they don't even do it on purpose most of the time. It just happens. They have a $5 million sell order, and it starts a cascading effect on BitMEX if you have that much money into a trade. So as much as people don't realize it, liquidity still is an issue in crypto. And this is where, why there needs to be more funds in the industry is so it can grow, because Forex traders that are trading, $50,000 a trade can't come in and trade a shitcoin for $50,000. You can't. There's no liquidity. No one's going to buy that $50,000 when you want to buy it, when you want to sell it after. And so that's a major factor people need to understand with crypto is it's great for bucket traders, right? Guys that go in the bucket, they beat the smaller guys, and it's great. But it's not so. I'm just saying, trading is not easy. It's something you have to master, and emotionally, it's a game where you go with the people that are doing things that are opposite of the market a lot of times. So when CZ says the bottom's in or it's not priced in, that's usually a time to sell. He's basically telling people to sell when he says stuff like that. As much as people get bullish, the average user is bullish. You have to think of game theory. How are they playing you, right? And the whole thing about trading is a lot of psychological barriers. And the more we understand it, the less we'll be emotional about it. This is what I thought was going to happen with Bitcoin. So you see the TD9 right here? Again, when you see TD, you don't always see the 9. I mean, you have to go back pretty far all the way up to here, which was another one of our big moves back up after the first push. But here was a 9 here, and we jumped all the way up there. So when people said, well, what happens when we have a 9 here? I was like, well, it can keep going. Like, we look at ETC. I'll be done in a second to let everyone else have a chance. We look at ETC. It was printed 9 right here. And I was telling people, man, it looks good to short. And then it got all the way up to here. And I was like, man, like $9, I remember saying, like, this has to go down. And then it finally came down and tapped the Kijun and just went higher. And now we see not a perfect, but almost the head and shoulders type of formation here, which is dumping it. So, yeah, this is interesting. What you have to follow is Litecoin, in my opinion. It leads Bitcoin a lot of the time. It led it coming back after the weekend, during the weekend when it came back. It was because Litecoin was still pushing the whole day when everything was red. It was green. So I always watch Litecoin to see where its movements it's doing. So again, you see the 9 on Litecoin. Here's the TD9. It hit resistance at just right here, and then it dropped back down to the Kijun. Try to pull it back. Now, if you understand, if I'll just give you a piece and then I'll leave. When I say the Kijun, think of a magnet. Think of the price as the plus and the magnet as the Kijun is the minus. And no matter how far away it gets from the Kijun, it always pulls back. So see how far we were away from here? We were 36% away. It always pulls back to that level. And that's why we're coming and we broke below the Kijuns and on the daily. And then we're holding this 200 MA. This is like if we drop below this and close down here for Litecoin, it could potentially break below the cloud and we can have a bear market again for Litecoin, which would be not very good. I personally think, this is what I'll leave you guys with, personally think we could probably go sideways, tap the cloud, and I think we're going to climb the cloud out of this and continue back up to this level of resistance, which is at 77, right around here. Now, I trade very different to Mikey, so I'm curious to hear what you have to say, Mikey, in terms of, I'm talking more of a macro analysis. You're a scalp trader. Both of our perspectives actually would work well together, putting some into longer term, putting some into scalps. Personally, if I'm doing that like I am right now, I usually don't use a lot of my trading pot for scalps. I use like 20%. But it's not my main trading style. So I'm curious to see, I'm showing more of a longer term where I'm thinking markets will literally go. I do think Bitcoin's getting close to a point where it should have a little bit of a recovery. I thought 85 would be the lowest. It's hit 85, 80, I believe. It could hit 84. What do you think?
Just jump in with a bit of that stuff we were talking about first.
Yeah.
Remember we were talking about the CEO is resigning.
Yes.
That's a bit of FA, right? That's affected the markets.
Absolutely.
Is there 15 or 20 different CEOs that have resigned in the last 3 weeks?
Yeah. So let's just name off some of the companies that CEOs have left. And this was Nike also had their CEO left. The co-CEOs of Google left. This happened a few months ago. And I remember mentioning to a bunch of people, like, this is not a good thing. This is saying that these people leave their positions when we're at the top. Then they go into the next position when the market recovers, and then they're like, oh, you were the former CEO of this really successful company. Not you were the CEO when the company went down and dropped like 35, 40% over the next year or two.
Yeah,
so
Jordan,
they usually leave.
Let's hear that list, guys. That shocking.
Okay, so the list is Disney, MasterCard, Salesforce, L Brand, Uber Eats, Hulu, MGM, IBM, LinkedIn, Match.com, Bayer, Aurora Cannabis, and Victoria's Secret.
Yeah.
That list doesn't even include Nike,
including Nike and the Googles.
These are all CEOs that have stepped down in the last, what time period?
That's like the last 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
I mean, it's picked up in the last 48 hours a lot more.
Yeah.
But what do those guys know that we don't know? Right? That's your question.
And so that should tell you guys a lot. I mean, it tells me a lot. It told me a lot when it was just Nike and Google. Now that there's been a cascading effect of all these people and all these companies. And here's the thing that also you should notice. MasterCard's involved in crypto. LinkedIn is not, but IBM is. They have the Hyperledger Fabric, right? So interesting that they're even leaving. It's just, I think that there's one thing that we all believe in crypto. A lot of us really deep-seated maximalists believe that we could change the world with Bitcoin, and we can, and blockchain technology as well. The one thing that I think we all are missing in the grand scheme of things is that if a global financial crisis happens, which is kind of what I was showing you guys at the start, where everything starts to drop. I didn't show you crude oil. Crude oil's down like 35% in the last like 3 weeks. It's pretty bleak, to be honest. You have people locked in their houses in Italy and China who are scared about this coronavirus. You have people not being able to get access to food very easily. This is not the fear monger because I'm a true believer that this is just a really bad pneumonia type flu, which is killing people, but the flu is killing more as it is, but it's very contagious and you have to be very careful.
Yeah, Joel, look, on that front, you know, I've been here in Singapore for about 5 weeks now. So, you know, this was very much the sort of first acting country in many ways, you know, where we had the first cases outside of China. So I've seen the panic buy. You know, we've had supermarkets with completely empty shelves. You know, I have friends that really haven't left their front doors for over a month. So I think what we've sort of been through here in Singapore already, I see happening in the rest of the world now. What I would say is to you know, people watching this from other countries, you're going to have that initial freak out. You know, we've been through that here. I certainly see people, you know, the level of fear is certainly not as much as it was. You know, that initial shock is a big, but what Joel is saying is very true. You know, we've got supply chains that are coming to a grinding halt. You know, Singapore is the biggest port in the world. There's a lot of stationary ships. My cab driver last night, who, you know, sung "We Are the World" with him, he had a little tear rolling down his eye. This guy is telling me he's lost 60% of his income, so he's really struggling to make ends meet now. So, you know, yes, we have CEOs stepping down at the top end, at the bottom end. The cab driver can't feed his family properly. So yeah, look, things are a little bleak at the moment, but you know, and also whether you're trading or just going about your daily life, you've got to try and keep that sense of calm. I mean, you guys are all over in Thailand and Bangkok. Maybe just give us I'm interested to hear what's happening on the coronavirus front there. I was quite shocked sort of a week or two ago talking to you guys. It hadn't really sort of come on your radar. Was the feeling I got from you? Has that now changed?
Thailand has a lot of cases of corona, man. There was some old guy that lied. He went to Japan and got sick when he came back, and then he didn't tell anyone. And then him and his wife went to church, and they got the grandkid sick, and the whole school got closed down. Just irresponsible, honestly. And they didn't want to admit that they went to China or Japan or wherever they were. Yeah, so, I mean, that was really, really just careless and stupid and put themselves as well as a lot of kids at risk.
The other X factor here in Thailand right now is the pollution.
Yeah, the pollution is bad.
Which is not good for your immune system. And we've, since basically January, the pollution has been AQI has been 150 to 200 consistently for like 2 months. They actually shut down public school system since yesterday, today, and tomorrow because it's so bad. And so I teach at a school, and because the private school, they're still open, they have good quality there. But 25% of my students are missing because they've been quarantined because they all went traveling over midterm break, skiing in Japan, skiing in Korea. So like the classes are already decimated because the kids are in quarantine. And it's just like, whoa.
Dude, my friends from China that are teachers, I have friends from China that like had to fly back to Thailand, and they're teaching from home in like a classroom in front of a screen. It's pretty crazy.
On Zoom, short.
There's no way to give them a proper anything. So it's bad. Like, it's bad for kids. It's bad for us. It's bad for people who like freedom of travel. It's bad for a lot of things. But same time, like, I think as everyone just kind of chills for a few weeks and stays home and relaxes, I think, like, you know, as long as there's not people sick that are out in population, we should be okay.
I've done that for a month and I'm bored to tears.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, you're sitting there with your dick in your hand. You should learn how to trade or learn a new skill, man. You'd be bored.
That's what we're doing right here, Joel.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Teach me.
I've been listening to some pretty good stuff. I'll send you guys some links for some volume price analysis, some books and stuff we put together. And I've been really like, even myself, I always want to learn. Like, I was a teacher before, all these continuing education. So for me, it's the same thing. I would read a book, listen to an audio book, find new strategies, see which ones can fit into mine if they make me more accurate, and try to keep it simple at the same time. You know what I mean? Not add too much. Stick to my Ichimoku, but if I can find a way that volume price analysis can help me and make me more accurate, I'm going to do that. So even myself, I'm sure Mikey also reads and learns still too.
So guys, let's get into some more charts in a minute.
Go ahead, Mikey.
I'll hand it over to Mikey, but just to clarify at a really high level macro, from a macro position, obviously, you know, for a number of years, I've always heard, the hardcore maximalists talk in terms of, Bitcoin would really come into play in a black swan event, in a global financial crisis. We definitely have a black swan event that's come out of nowhere. It's global. It will probably tip us into a global recession. Do we see Bitcoin decoupling from the traditional markets? I know they've tracked together they've always tracked together really, but do we see a decoupling? I personally think the crypto markets will be massively affected by a recession, but if the recession is extremely bad, do we see that hedge, that digital gold play? Do we see that playing out that way? What are your thoughts on that, guys?
But hey, Shawnee, Joel, can you pop up that screen you had before with the 4 charts? I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about that before.
Okay, yeah, for sure. One second.
Because it's very interesting. I think this is the psychological part that we're talking about, and I thought that was really interesting because I often neglect the macro because of what I do.
Yeah, of course.
We all got into crypto because ideologically we found it to be appealing. Absolutely. And the one thing that you get on crypto Twitter and all these places and people talk and blah blah blah, they all talk about crypto being what you said, Sean, digital gold, right? I think psychologically we are definitely not there yet, right? As a store of value. Look at the Dow Jones, look at Bitcoin, look at the S&P, and look at gold.
Correct.
Right.
I can also, what I should also do is I'll pull up. Hold on, where's silver? Silver, the same thing. It's been going up. I mean, it kind of pulled back a little bit, but nothing compared to what everything else was doing.
Like currently, it looks like Bitcoin is just another asset class, right? Yeah. As opposed to anything special. And to me, that just says 2 things. One, mainstream adoption hasn't occurred yet. Still, we're all in our little bubble with crypto, which is cool. It just is. And 2, there's no use case scenarios yet where it's actually being used so that people see the value in it. That as a store of value, right now, if you're any of these guys, if you're any of the legacy market traders, big boys, whales, any of these guys, you're looking at these charts and just going, you're not even looking at it. It's irrelevant to you, in that sense. So it's got to take more than us.
Those guys aren't actually trading it, Mike. From a regulatory point of view, a lot of them just simply aren't allowed to. I mean, there are certain institutions that have taken positions in Bitcoin, and I know I think got some really big fund managers lined up to come in and have a chat with us over the next 2 weeks. I've been surprised by the level of institutional interest, but when I say institutional, I'm talking. There's some big outfits in Switzerland, but they're not the multi-billion-dollar pension funds that are here yet. We're still talking 0.01% of the crypto's contribution to a global economy. These type of companies, just from a structural, from a regulatory point of view, they don't really take positions in anything until it's at least 1% of the global economy. Then they sort of index in. So if we reach that 1% level, that's where you would see exponential growth in these crypto assets, in my opinion. But yeah, you're right. If we look at what gold is doing at the moment, it's on a big upward trajectory. Bitcoin isn't tracking that, albeit we're talking very short time frames here with this downward movement of Bitcoin. So sorry, I'll hand it back over to you, Mikey.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just thought that was really interesting. Like that, when Joel brought those charts up, I thought that was very interesting because it's always been the sentiment on Twitter, and which is where most of us exist and get our views, not our views, but we gauge sentiment from. It's always been, you literally hear guys go, they want the market to dump, they want recession, which for me is completely
abhorrent to think like this. People going broke just to make a few dollars, and they all think, oh yeah, then the market dumps, the legacy market's dumped, and it's all going to Bitcoin. Well,
Let me ask you guys a question. Do you think this is normal? This is from 2008. We haven't really had a real correction yet. I mean, yes, you could say that there's a correction, like a couple small ones here, like one here, one here. You see the TD9 there.
No, well, I mean, we've just been absolutely
look at the 200
our
MA
market flooded with cheap cash.
But look at this though. Like here's our 200 MA, right? And look at how it's held that every single time it's dipped down here, down there. Will it dip all the way down there again? Well, that'd be a pretty big, huge, steep loss. But right now, until we break below this cloud, we are bullish on S&P. We are bullish on the Dow. You
have a chart of how much money has been pumped into that, just magically printed at the same time.
We could look at that. That'd be a good correlation. But of course, there's been I think what is it, 500 billion so far pumped into the economy so far?
Like in September with the repo markets, how much they put in? Holy shit.
220 billion, I believe it was at the end. Yeah. And you know what, the bailout, here's a great thing. So the bailout, which happened, 2008. So we got to go down to this huge dip right here where everything died. Lehman Brothers died. Everything was dead. So we see that, okay, what the fuck's happening now? You know what I mean? We're fucked. This is fucked. This is not good. I've been saying this for a year. This is not good. It's too high. It's going up. It's going up. It's going up. When does it fall? Maybe this is the event it falls for. Corona creates a gigantic opportunity for us to short these markets.
Well, do you ever subscribe to Tyler Jenks and the Hyperwave?
No, I haven't.
It's like he's kind of a really big macro trader, and he says every bubble, like Bitcoin, it's got these huge levels. The stock markets do the same thing. It's just on a much longer time frame.
Yeah, right? I mean, but this is like the longest.
I mean, Jordan, I'd followed his analysis really closely for a good long while. I'm not sure, factoring in a black swan event into a hyperwave is relevant, though. We clearly have a black swan event on our hands.
Well, I mean, those events, when you look at them on a chart in a long form, it doesn't say black swan. It just comes up as a massive dump.
Right.
It's like, it affects the charts. Whether it's triggered by
I don't think a hyperwave, I'd have to go back and have a look at some of that analysis. I purely follow Ivan on text headlines for all my decisions.
It's the best. We're bullish. We're bearish. We're bullish.
I mean, isn't that like 99% of crypto Twitter though? Like, we're bullish, we're bearish.
Well, you know what I've heard in the last couple of days now is like,
Ivan started his YouTubing career teaching people how to do bicep curls.
What?
Yeah. Sean, you were mentioning like Bitcoin decoupling from the traditional markets. Yeah. I've heard on crypto Twitter the last couple of days, like alts decoupling from Bitcoin. Right.
Sorry, what was that?
Alts, alternate decoupling from Bitcoin, right? And that's always the crypto Twitter complaint is that, Bitcoin goes up and everything crashes. Bitcoin goes down and everything crashes, right? And just the last couple of days.
Yeah, but it's only you and 4 other guys trading alts, isn't it, Jordan?
Yeah, exactly. It's totally true.
I'm one of them.
And Joel, we've got 3/4 of the crypto Twitter.
We got the exactly.
3 out of 4 traders for alts are right here now.
Which
dump it, boys. Dump it.
Oh man, Tesla looks like it's gonna drop more.
Oh, that's interesting. What's happened? Because that's been the massive mover, huh?
Well, it has, but we're 50% away from
parabolic.
It's too parabolic. I mean, it broke the parabola already.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Well, look, you see it here, right? And then it broke it right there. So, it's not a perfect parabola. I'm not drawing it on properly, but yeah, the parabola, it was going, and then it broke right here. So I think Tesla's going to get pulled back down to 650, this level right here. It's going to come back to the Kijins. And the thing about stocks, this could take a long time for it to get there. So something that people need to be realistic with is it could definitely take a while. But
hey, question, do any of you guys use leverage to short And what's your position on shorting and the crypto markets in general?
That's Mike's middle name.
Yeah. Mike Short. Yeah, no.
Lev,
I
100X.
honestly, this is why I don't like. When Joel puts his the daily chart up, I don't even know what it looks like because I find 15-minute charts all day, and I literally don't care going up or down. I just don't care.
You're a micro.
You're a myth trader.
Yeah, no, he's just a scalper, so he's looking for like smaller levels right here.
Can you guys explain to people that don't know what scalping is? Just give us a bit of a lesson on that. And I think, Mikey, you were maybe going to show us a scalp trade.
Like scalping is no different to, if you're using a chart to trade, you're using these indicators to give you now all trading is high probability, right? There's no 100%. So you just try to get high probability setups. And so it doesn't really matter whether you're doing what Joel does and you swing trade over a number of days or weeks, or whether you do what I do and you're doing it over a number of minutes or hours.
Yep.
And the chart for me just says what it says. And then each one of these candles that you can see right now that Joel's got up there, that's a 15-minute candle.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, let me go to
they're 15-minute candles. Well, I generally use a 5-minute candle. That's just a 5-minute time frame. Each one of those candles is 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And
there you go, 5.
It usually I'm looking to pick up between 1 and 2% on a trade, and I'm using leverage anywhere between 5 times to 50 times to do that. And depends on what I'm trading. If I'm trading a piece of crap, or just something with low liquidity, you're literally not trading a lot of dollars because there's no one to buy what you're selling, or no one to sell you what you want to buy. So for scalping, you tend to do top 5, 10 coins. They've got the liquidity to actually get in and out of positions of a decent size. And whereas all the shit coins, you're laddering in. Like if you want to buy Matic, if you want to buy $100,000 worth of Matic and swing it for 4 weeks or for a week, you got to ladder in because there's literally no one to sell you not enough Matic to buy. So you've got to ladder it in. Whereas Ethereum, you can buy $100,000 in one go. So it's all relative to what you're actually trading and things like that. So scalping, I do not scalp Bitcoin. I don't trade Bitcoin at all, except maybe on a longer-term basis. But everything, because basically for me, if Bitcoin moves 1%, everything else moves too. And also the Bitcoin chart is different. Is definitely looks different to Ethereum. Can come close, but you trade EOS, you trade Ripple, you trade all these others. They all tend to look the same. Whereas Bitcoin, that's where all the money is. It definitely trades differently.
Okay.
So yeah.
So when you say you trade Bitcoin sort of long term, what's long term?
Well, for me, long term actually, that might be
a day.
I might actually hold it for a day or two.
Oh, that's long term.
Because
what indicators do you generally use? Price action and volume, EMAs?
Yeah, and also I use Bollinger Bands.
Mm-hmm. BB, yeah.
Bollinger Bands, I like RSI. RSI is very good, but all of these, they seem very common and very basic. But if you have a strategy around them, that's the key to them.
Okay, so we got the Bitcoin tether chart here, guys. If you could maybe each of you sort of comment on where you think it is going.
I'm gonna throw some BB on there for you if it makes it easier.
Bollinger Bands are tightening.
Give me 1 second.
This is actually RSI, but it's using Bollinger Bands and a couple other things. It's
what is a Bollinger Band?
John Bollinger. You can explain it.
No, I'm not going to explain what they are. I don't know how to explain them. They're just good.
Yeah.
That's an excellent
momentum indicator.
Yeah, no problems. No, there's a guy called John Bollinger. He's a legacy trader. So Bollinger Bands, of course, like most of this stuff comes out of the legacy markets.
Yeah.
You've got these guys who are just geniuses with maths, and they're always and if you're going to trade, if you're going to do any of this, don't stop learning. Like Joel said before, you never ever stop learning. You constantly. I've been doing this for a long time. And I'm
So
always,
how long has charting been around for? All this TAs was it only sort of mid-60s?
1900s.
the Japanese, all the Japanese, like, you know, Heikeneishi and Renko and all this, they've been around for a couple of 100 years. Like Japanese traders, like literally just trading in rice, they came up with this stuff. The guy who came up with, I think it was Renko, I think that's almost 200 years ago. And
that's why Renko is done in dollars, not actually the blocks are a $50 amount or whatever. They're actually based off of price, not actual.
They're not time based.
Yeah, not time.
Yeah,
to do your trading course, Joel. The coach crypto.
Renko is like a whole another spectrum of things. Like it's easy to understand for some, and other people just never get it. Like it's like because every block. So if I turn on Renko right now, which I easily can just show you, it's a different type of candlestick basically. It makes it in like $50 blocks basically. So some traders like to wait for the second block or wait for a nice wick down, a nice pin bar, and they will enter. And then they will wait for 2 red and they'll go out. Some people have simple strategies like that. And it works, you know. Right. They short after 2 red and then they wait until they have 2 green and then they go long and they lose here and they lose here, but they win here and they lose here and they win here. I know people that have a simple strategy like that.
It's like Joel said, it's not time based. So if you look at chuck that onto like say an hourly one, man. So
you want to show your chart, Mike?
So see, it goes back. If you look down the bottom there, this very small chart goes right back to like December, November, and you've only got a little bit of movement, right? Because it's literally it'll only paint a block once it fills the criteria for that block.
Yeah.
So until it does that, so it could take 3 days to fill a block. And it won't paint that block until that price completes. So then it is confusing when you first look at it, but it can be good, you know. But
it's hard to make a strategy on Renko. Like you'll win big on these ones, and then the little ones that you could lose a lot of your capital. So it's one of those things you have to get in when the momentum's there. You can't just use Renko blocks, honestly.
Yeah. When you first look at Renko, you think you've solved it, right? It looks amazing, right? When you first look at it, you go, "This is golden." And after about 17 losing trades, you go, "This is crap."
Yep.
Yeah, but that's all I'm saying is that charting has been around for a long time. You know, I got a friend, and he's got charts back on the American stock market. I can't remember. I think it's like 125 years, right? And he's actually very concerned about literally what's happening with it right now on the long talking about long time frames. He doesn't think it's very sexy at all. The whole overall American stock market going back 125 years, he feels like it's completing a 5th wave.
All right, so come on, we've got 3 traders here. Tell me what's going to happen with Bitcoin, you guys.
Going to bounce. I mean, you can see. I'll show you. This is what I think is going to happen with Bitcoin right here. My yellow line. So I thought it would actually recover a bit yesterday.
Yeah.
I thought Bitcoin was going to recover yesterday, honestly. Let me just put regular candles on again. So I thought it would recover yesterday and then hit this level we're at right now. So we're at that level right now, which is good. We should probably see a bounce here. Like 87 was 85 was actually where I was looking at. But if I put on my other normal indicators I like to use. So it came down to this Kijun Sin. It's a 50% retrace naturally all the time. That's what the Kijun is, constantly 50% retrace level. So it came down this level. We have also the top of the cloud right here on the Kumo. And like I said, I thought it would grind up, probably not even into the cloud, but grind up outside the cloud. Try to reclaim this level and then drop down again. So I think what I had here, we'll start here now, we'll come up to here, we'll come back down, and then we'll test that level. We have to test it. So and that will be into the halving. So I've had from really good friends of mine that told me lots of different things in this industry that are whales. They said to me, Joel, you're going to see right before halving something like this happen. a very strong dip into the halving and a strong dip after, and then you'll see recovery outside of it. So I've been told that. I take those things with a grain of salt, though, and I play level by level. So should everybody. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking is going to happen.
What do you think happens, Joel, if it drops below the cloud there, man?
If it drops below the cloud, we're going to have a not so nice situation.
Like that. Hey, Joel, can you swap down to like go to like 4 hour, then the 1 hour?
Yeah, of course.
Hour. When I trade them, like I'll start with the daily. I mean, I'm not as experienced as these two guys, but I just like to get the whole picture, you know, start with the daily and then you get your time frames tighter and tighter and tighter.
Yep.
Kind of see it developing.
That makes sense. Hold on, my chart just went all weird. Okay, so where we would go next, the 618 retracement level right here of that huge move we made from December all the way up to the top. That would be around the 618, or if we go to the weekly, look on a macro time frame, come back and tap that weekly Kijin, which we actually just did. So that's bullish in terms of like we've potentially got somewhere closer to that level. But the next one is 84.80. A lot of other traders are talking about it, but I think we're going to get front run from that. And we did hit 85.31. So 84.80 could have been a $50 front run, and then we could see recovery. But we've only seen a $200 recovery. I'm not confident right now, honestly, in the market. I can very confidently say I am not confident in it.
Confident? I have no confidence.
I'm confident that we are not doing so well. But this nice pin bar that's formed here. But, I mean, we look at volume, and it's just utter shit. So we would need something to happen here. So it's just gone, you know, it's just flat on the daily time frame today. We have a lot of time still left, 19 hours.
If you look at the hourly, it's nasty.
Yeah, I'll go down to hourly.
It's just like, where's it going to end?
Hourly, it's just been cascading for hours and hours and hours, right? When this started, I mean, that's from when we started. That was 3 days ago, for 15%, right? If they give people perspective of that, if we have $100 billion market cap, 15% of that's $15 billion. See you later. And we have a bigger market cap than that. So a lot of money just exited the markets. Something I tell a lot of people to use that I find a lot of traders for some really weird reason don't is look at the CME gaps. So we had a gap here to start the week right there, but it filled so fast that you can't actually even see it. This gap filled right here, right there. So we had a gap here. We gapped up. You can't really, I don't know why you can't see it, but we had a gap there. We had a gap here. This gap filled, right? We had this big one here and it filled right away. And now we're just like, you know, cascading. So there's one more gap everyone talks about, and we basically filled it, which was right here. And a lot of people say we always fill the gaps. So there's this one right here, this little one. And we filled it. We tapped that Kijin. So the thing about that that's good is, you know, there's a lot of confluence factors saying that we might be, you know, in a better position at this point because we've tapped certain levels. But on the other side, on the daily, we have this 200 MA where we cross below it on the CME. That's
so the CME gaps arise from those futures only being traded during normal business hours, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, right? And on the weekends,
yeah, because of closing.
Drastic moves and then creates a gap.
So it'll close on like Friday, and then Sunday night, our time, it will open, and then you know, if price fluctuates, it will gap. Same as a stock will gap. You know, stock market opens and closes. Sometimes you open the stock market. Like if we look at Tesla again, we can see that like very, very clearly that you know, it gapped up and gapped down. So here's a gap right here. There was a gap right there. There was a gap right here. There was a gap right there. It kept gapping up every week, almost like on weekly basis. It was gapping up or gapping down. This is a huge gap up right there. You could have gone to sleep on Friday, woke up in the morning up 16% on Tesla. So Tesla has been on a beautiful move, but it's broken that parabola right here. So it should likely come back down to 650. A website called Cryptometer. So this is a great, amazing, free tool. So just log in. Let me just log in. So you get like a lot of information from this thing. So it has a live monitor of all the coins that you like. You can see the BCH monitor, which shows you live bullish bearish sentiment, merge trading books of all the Bitcoin being traded. So it's right now being bought more than sold. We see that the total longs and shorts. We can find out all this stuff pretty much live trading. Open interest, which is really good because, you know, everyone else talks about OI. If OI is going up and price is going up and volume is going up, we know we're extremely bullish and we should be buying 100%. And then, so yeah, it's just got like this really cool open interest charts, and it merges all the different trading books of all the other exchanges. It shows you changes in open interest on those exchanges as well as order books. And then the really cool piece that has all the crypto news that comes out. It has all the crypto tweets that come out. Like, I freaking love it. And you can sort your favorites. Cool, so you can like have it so that the coins that you have as your favorites, the ones that you put in your list that pop up on your dashboard, these are the ones that it will show you. So you build up your favorites list. You have a trade monitor of large trades right here. So it will show you live, like, which of the big trades that just recently came in on what exchange. I can choose Binance. I can choose Binance Futures. I can choose Bittrex. I can choose BitMEX. I can choose
Bittrex. There's nothing happened on Bittrex.
Yeah, Bittrex. CoinEx, which has had a lot more movements lately, and FTX just recently got added. Like, I think it was yesterday.
Oh, nice.
Have like trade activity. So this is large trade activity by the minute. Which come in, if they're buys, if they're sells, what exchanges they came on. This is using all the exchanges. Right now, we can see in the last 15, 20 minutes, there's been a lot more buying and selling. They've been buying BTC and ETH, a little bit of selling on Bitcoin, 25, not too bad. And then more buying of Bitcoin, XBT, Bitcoin, and XBT. So people are buying, some people are selling large amounts, $346,000 worth here. So yeah, we'll have to watch obviously to see where the market goes, but yeah, this is a really awesome.
That's awesome. No, it is. It's great.
There's a wall detector too, like, so you'll see where walls are built up. So in ERD, there's at 17 sats, there's 317 million ERD, which is 54 Bitcoin worth. These are just the walls that have built up. On Binance, you have a wall at 0.005 versus BTC of 72 Bitcoin. So it shows you walls. You can choose whatever coin you want. Let's say you just want to look at like Tezos. You will show you just Tezos. You want ADA. ADA doesn't have any large orders. XLM doesn't have any large orders. LTC has one. ETH. And you can actually go and look. So that's the nice part. You can look at Link. Link's got a lot of selling in the last few hours. So I find this is like probably one of the coolest tools that I found for free on the internet. Oh, and then this is another really cool thing, rapid movers. So you can see
what's yours is bigger than mine, Joel.
What?
That's okay. That's awesome. I
wasn't trying to big you up. I just found this tool and I was like, if you like that tool, you like the monitor tool, this is
I looked at it a long time ago and then I gave it 2 seconds and then I didn't take much notice of it. My brother sent it through and then I went, oh yeah, I haven't got time, and forgot all about it. I remember this being a very good tool.
This has like a sentiment meter of like Twitter tweets and stuff that it looks at. And so right now we're going towards bearish. Has like an API you can get it to set up. But really like the key piece for me is just like the live monitor, the live trades. I pick the coins that I like. I could put as many as I like in here.
Well, and it's cool that it's got the news there, because a lot of the times when you're seeing these quick spikes, it's news driven, right? It's
yes, no. I mean, I find FA doesn't really work like that in crypto. It depends. It depends on what it is. It depends on a lot of different factors. But it is really cool. You can just come here and have all your stuff that you want. All the top news, all the stuff is right in front of your face. And the tweets are really valuable because if you have, certain coins that you like, you can find out those things right away. Like it does it like really quickly.
Well, I mean, an example was last week, right? RLC. They announced a partnership with Facebook, and it went bam! Like,
oh yeah, right? But it wasn't really a partnership with Facebook.
Well, but it was that tweet caused the spike.
Of course it did.
Yeah,
of course, because people are like, oh my God, they're with Facebook, but they aren't with Facebook. That's what people didn't realize. They're actually nothing to do with Facebook.
Well, yeah, I don't know exactly the news, but it's just an example of where you're going to get a tweet that affects the price.
Tweets definitely kind of like there's bots for Forex that track Trump's tweets. No bullshit.
Yeah.
And they actually make a lot of money doing it. So, it is what it is.
So we're about to have, this is the you've missed the boat segment.
Yeah, this is a missed the boat. Mike and I were talking about possibly doing like a pick of the day, just to like check out, scan a bunch of charts, and they go, oh, this looks like it's good for a move today.
Man, my KNC was like, I never felt stronger about KNC when it was under 3,000 sats, and then it went 110, 120% or something like that. But like there was so many reasons and confluence factors for me to be super bullish. So I put in like 2.5% risk on that one, which is a little more than normal, but I just felt really strong. But you have to know when you have like, I think a lot of traders screw that up. They always put in 1%, 1%, but you shouldn't always do that. Like if you have a really, really good reason to put in 2% or a little bit more risk, you should do it sometimes. And other times you shouldn't. Sometimes when the market's choppy like it is right now, I'm using like 0.25 to 0.5% risk because I'm like, it really is like it's too violently moving. I'd rather just, I'm going to take a trade right now. I'd rather take a little bit less risk because there's a higher chance that it could potentially go the wrong way until we have stability. When the market's trending, it's like, okay, easy. You know what I mean? But when we have a market that's trending, now we have a trending market that's trending down, which also can technically be easy. But I think we're at the bottom of that now. So I wouldn't be shorting here at all because you could do it for $200-300, but it's more likely higher chances right now that we reverse even if we go a little bit lower and pull back to 91, 9,500. So
I mean, it's even been shit for a scalp right now. I've been looking for a scalp the whole time we've been talking, and there's just nothing definitive. I was hoping to put something up, but all the charts look identical right now. All the scalpable charts. There's nothing going on.
Yeah, it's been a really good pick. A project that I picked like a month ago was RSR, and that one's been on a tear.
Oh yeah, it's ripping right now.
It's been tearing it up. I mean, Peter Thiel, I think it was, who invested. I had a chance to invest in the seed round of this, and I gave up my position, unfortunately. But it's actually where it listed now anyway, so I didn't really give up anything. But I like that one.
The problem with that coin, it's not really traded anywhere too big, right?
Yeah.
Ubi and IDEX.
Sorry, I'm not familiar with that project. Can you tell us a bit about it? Peter Thiel is behind it.
No, he's one of the back. They're backed by a very. I can pull up who's.
It's a stablecoin project.
It's a stablecoin, but it's like kind of like Maker, where it's like the stablecoin isn't always. You didn't buy a token for $1.
I think Peter Thiel's moved to New Zealand. He's buying up half the country down there at the moment and building bunkers. Yeah.
And I think they're really aiming at like unbanked people, right? Developing economies, so people can access investments. As opposed to
I've got some friends.
I got some people in Venezuela, I believe. Well, I mean, you got Peter Thiel's involved, Sam Altman, Coinbase Ventures. Who else is involved? That's a big name. There was one more. Isn't there one more? Block Towers there. Wow, there's a lot of Rocket Fuel invested in them. Interesting. I know the guys behind that. GSR invested in them. Arrington XRP Capital invested in them. Digital Currency Group, which is run by Barry Silbert, which owns like a ton of crypto projects, including EOS and others. Fenbushi Capital invested in them. So yeah, they have huge backing investments, backers and investors behind them.
The shill machine also kicked up on RSR last 3 days. Like everybody's talking about it. And then
well, yeah, the marketing machine, you got to put that in perspective too. But, they're trying to create like a basket of currencies for people to use. And, they have the right backers and people around them to make it happen, which is unlike 99% of the other projects out there.
They're big names you've just read out there. So what was this thing called again?
It's reserve rights, RSR.
RSR. Yeah. Okay, I'll have a look.
It's an interesting project. I caught OIN like right on the breakout. That was a really nice trade that I got recently. Even though the market's been going the other way, this one broke out at like 1,300-ish, and then it just went on a ride to 50% during this whole entire move down, which was really weird. But that's what we look for, right? It was bouncing off the Kijin and had a perfect move. So I don't think OIN is something you'd want to hold long term because of what I said last week too, though. So you know, a lot of people held for a long time and want to sell their bags.
Yeah, RSR is one of those like fundamental trades that I made.
Yeah,
I was like accumulating the last, I don't know, 3-4 months. Because on IDEX, I have a list of like 10 coins on IDEX that I like fundamentally. And I have a couple traders. Anytime I get some profits, I'll just buy a little bit, buy a little bit, buy a little bit. So I was accumulating around like 1,000 Toshis, right?
Yep.
And I think right now it's about 17 or 18.
Right.
So, you know, it's a wicked trade. So for that one.
Okay. Cool.
yeah.
All right. I've got to sign off now, guys. I'm actually late for this other call. So I'm definitely coming over to see you boys hopefully in about 2 weeks. So clear up that pollution, please. Make sure everyone doesn't catch the virus.
Well, I mean, maybe
you want the pollution because it's killing the virus.
You think so?
I want the pollution.
Well, my friend has a theory that everyone's getting this in cold climates. So we might be okay in the hot, sunny places we live. We should maybe look to start sort of winding it up for today anyway, boys. We'll maybe do a weekly thing here. So could you please put some comments under this video, viewers, as to what you'd like to see sort of structure-wise, what you liked from this chat, what you didn't. You know, we're just going off the cuff here, so you know we really want this to be as interactive as possible. Let us know what really is of interest to you. So lastly, guys, Jordan, you're going to go away and do this thumbnail because we can't have too much of a time lag when talking about charts. I think it'd be quite humorous to finish off by discussing what our thumbnail is going to say. True. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much, boys.
Peace, guys.
And we'll do this again next week. For the viewers, please let us know what's of most interest and what you thought about thumbnail.
Oh, now I got to deliver.
Yes, sir.
Thumbnails. The two things I hate the most doing in these things are like the SEO and the thumbnails because I'm so bad at graphic design.
Well, that's my department.
Yeah.
All right, Jordan, get to work.
Anyways.
Thanks, boys.
Adios, amigos.
Speak to you soon.
Adios.
See you now.